Hello and welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm Morgan. So last week I presented research, and the 8 weeks leading up to that, I was taking part in a summer research internship through my university. And I just thought that it'd be nice to sit down and chat and kind of talk about my experience as an undergraduate doing research. And so since this is my channel, we're gonna do that. It also kind of saves me from writing a more formal outline right after one of the biggest mentally stressful events of my life at this point. So, win-win in my book. To begin my kind of recap and thoughts about this whole experience, we need to back up a little bit to the most recent winter quarter. And during this winter quarter, I was taking an ecology class. And I think it may have been the beginning, close to halfway through the quarter, my professor sent us an email letting us all know about this summer research internship opportunity that we had available to us through his lab. And after quite a lot of back and forth, I ended up filling out the application, which was kind of strange because it was really just write me 500 words about why this is interesting to you and email it to me. So I did. I was just like, okay, whatever. Worst case scenario, I don't get it, and it's not a big deal. It's important to note here that at this moment, I had recently left my job as a bartender at a casino near me that I had been at for going on more than 5 years at that point. And I was kind of a little bit lost as to what to do because I was having these moments of, holy shit, I left my job. What am I going to do for finances over the summer? And the internship was a paid opportunity, so that would have worked out had I gotten it. Well, a few weeks go by, and eventually I get this email asking me if my graduation date was going to be a problem. Now, because of things that happened with my university, I'm technically graduating a year late, but that doesn't really look like that when you just look at my transcripts. So I emailed the professor back, told him, oh, I'm actually graduating the following year. My transcripts are just kind of funky because of issues when I transferred with units, basically, because I don't really want to go into all of that in this video. We should retain some air of mystery. But he was like, cool, expect an email from me soon. So a couple days go by and I get this email saying that for some reason I've been accepted, and honestly I'm still not sure why, but that's not the point. So all of us are very excited. We finished the rest of the quarter. By the end of the quarter, we've managed to officially meet as a group, tour the lab. We're very excited. We're going to get to work with protists and play God. It's going to be great. And then COVID really hit the United States, and everything was just kind of thrown up in the air. So one big thing about the particular way I got into this internship, because there were several ways that you could get into the bigger program that this was a part of, but the way that I did it, our first part of the internship would have started over the spring quarter. So the quarter directly following the winter, for 2 units of course credit, we would have been kind of learning the ropes in the lab. Well, everything went virtual, which kind of threw a wrench in our plan. So we were kind of scrambling, figuring out what the heck do we do. We're supposed to be learning the procedures. We're supposed to be learning how to raise these little microscopic critters and, again, play God with them, because, I mean, what's the point of biology if you can't really manipulate these little mini systems that you create. There are other points of biology, just some of us get weird with it, and those of us that say we don't are lying. But what we did instead was we started using the statistical software that the lab uses, so our studio, and we had to learn to code to be able to get things to work. And we were still able to kind of begin those tutorials, begin the data analysis, but then we were still unsure what was going to happen over the summer. The way the internship was set up was we were supposed to have 10 weeks right at the beginning of the summer where we'd be doing our research, symposium at the end. Then the end of summer would be for us to do whatever we wanted, have a break, all that fun crap, which was kind of still undetermined as we didn't know if undergraduates would be allowed back on campus. All the labs were closed pretty much throughout spring, except for those who had to be on campus to say like feed animals or water plants in the particular labs that had those things in them. Anything else was deemed non-essential. So at the beginning of summer, the program was officially moved to the end of summer. We chose to stay on a volunteer basis and learn how to start making models in our studio. For me, all of this was really frustrating because our studio, unlike using other statistical software, like say your most basic Excel, which you basically just manipulate things around, use the functions. I got fairly proficient at Excel because my first statistics class was Excel based. So that's fairly comfortable for me. I know Excel, I have a background in Excel. Also, Minitab is another statistical software that I have a background in. I took another stats class that instead of using Excel, used Minitab. Minitab is fairly similar to Excel, but not at the same time. But still, those are fairly simple. They're kind of pick your function, do the thing kind of softwares. Our studio is neat because you can pretty much do whatever the heck you want with it, but you need to code it and write these scripts of code to get it to do the thing. Now, as someone who does not have a coding background, that is effing terrifying. And those of us who were in the lab at this point did not have any coding in our backgrounds. We were all kind of struggling through this, getting really frustrated. Because the thing about learning something like that virtually also, when you don't have a background and all of a sudden you're feeling this pressure because you're supposed to be doing research with this in a few weeks and you're like, oh my God, I can barely use the program. How the hell am I supposed to do real science with it? It gets really stressful. And had we been able to be in the lab and have like the grad students and the lab tech be able to look at our screens and show us what to do, I know for myself, later when I had grad students and my own lab partner on the project that I was working on send me their codes, once I picked it apart, I could kind of see what was going on and be like, oh, that's how I do it. But that's just how I learn. I have to be able to see something and pick it apart. I can't just be like, oh, this command does this, and then figure it out organically, because I'll get very frustrated very fast because I just want it to work. But we got through it, we muddled through it, and then the internship officially started. And when it officially started, we got a few more people added into our group, one of which did have a coding background. And I was lucky enough to have him as my lab partners. We were the only two that wanted that specific project. The project that my partner and I were working on, I thought was pretty interesting because what we were doing was we were taking data collected by the Niwot Ridge Long-Term Ecological Research Site, which I will link their website down in the description below because they're a pretty cool program that's been going on for at least 30 years now, where they just take a bunch of data from this site in the Colorado Rockies. And we were under the mentorship of course, the professor, our PI, primary investigator, and one of his grad students. And we were taking data from a series of alpine lakes and kind of crunching the zooplankton numbers to see what climate change is doing to these understudied ecosystems. And this was it was fascinating to me and really excited me, because that was one of the things I wrote about in my application, if you can even really call it that. One of the things that I think is so fascinating about ecology is seeing how these climate shifts are affecting ecosystems. And that's fascinating to me. Climate change is a thing that's constantly on my mind, especially in California, where we have this kind of unique pocket of different ecosystems throughout the state, which is a completely different video topic altogether. But up in the Sierra Nevadas, we have a fairly similar kind of alpine thing going on to what's going on in the Colorado Rockies. So that was very interesting to me. Now, this was a project that had kind of been put on hold by my professor and this particular grad student, because it's my understanding they were supposed to go do field research this summer. However, that got canceled because COVID. And so they were asked by this program to do the research that we began over the summer. And it was really cool. We saw some really interesting things happening, especially with these differences in the community makeups of the little zooplankton communities in the lakes that weren't really correlating with the differences in water chemistry and lack of differences in water quality in the lakes in the study. We were seeing interesting species richness trends with the different ice-off date trends, and talking about our specific conclusions so far in our next steps is a completely different video topic that I would be willing to touch on in another video if there's interest for it. But I'm not really going to do that in this video. So the other project that the other undergrads were working on in this lab had to do with blepharisma, which is a specific protist that is used in a lot of ecological models in labs. And they were having the grad students that were allowed back in the lab at the time run specific trials, and they were working with essentially their own data. And I think that's why they chose that project and not the project that my partner and I chose. But that's fine, to each their own. But I found this really rewarding, especially as an undergrad, and we were given the opportunity to stay on in the lab and continue our research throughout the rest of the school year if we chose to do for either a volunteer basis or course credit. As of right now, I'm staying on for a volunteer basis, mainly because my unit is pretty close to the cap for this coming quarter, and I don't want to deal with petitioning to be able to use more units and stuff. It's just not worth it to me. But as an undergrad, I thought it was really cool being able to work side by side with my professor and the grad students, and it's just a completely different experience than you even get in a lab class. And I highly encourage anyone who has the opportunity as an undergrad to participate in research and work in research to do it, because it just kind of throws you into the science in a completely different way than just taking a class will. And that's not just for if you're a science major. My lab partner was a math major, or is a math major. He's staying on in the lab because we're at a pretty interesting part in our project. We're almost done crunching specific data. We're talking about beginning to model once we're done with a few more data sets and picking things apart and reorganizing stuff. And that's something that he's interested in. So even if you're not a science major, but you have the opportunity to participate in some sort of research, take the leap and do it, because the worst case scenario, you're just not going to like it, and you're going to know that you don't like it, and that's not something you're interested in. I especially encourage you, if you're going to be doing this interdisciplinary work where we're running the statistical analysis, but we're technically working in ecology. Those are two disciplines working together. My partner is a math major, but his particular focus is modeling and physics. That's a little over my head, and I'm probably oversimplifying what he's into, but what we're doing, while it is not specifically applicable to what he wants to do in the future, he's looking at it as an opportunity to work with real data and, in the very least, get a fairly decent letter of rec in the future for grad school. So if you have the opportunity to participate in research, please do. I know I'm also part of the honors program at my university, which is another opportunity for undergrads to do research. My honors research is not like lab-based, and I don't think I've really talked about it on the channel much, but if that's something you guys would be interested in, I would be willing to talk about that as well. But that probably won't come until after this quarter, when I'm a little further along in my project, just so I don't jinx myself at all. But that all being said, I found this opportunity very rewarding. It was exciting. I have never presented my own research before, and it's a completely different experience than just presenting a project to your class. I mean, I guess technically I presented my own research to my herpetology class last quarter because we had to do literature reviews. A literature review is a very specific kind of academic paper. So it's technically your research, but you're synthesizing studies done and papers published and kind of putting those together and proposing next steps for a particular area of research. I did make a video about that, and I will link that in the description down below as well. That was very exciting to me. I specifically looked at the evolution and function of venom in non-serpent squamates, so lizards like Gila monsters, monitor lizards, things like that. But this whole internship experience was very rewarding. I got to present my own research in like a formal symposium setting, even though it wasn't in person, and the virtual symposium was kind of weird. I can't really judge the entire experience off of that because everything was kind of, oh crap, how do we not take this opportunity away from these students? But it was very rewarding. I'm very thankful for the program, and I think it's pretty cool that I can say that I have worked on research funded by the National Science Foundation, and I'm grateful for that. So to kind of wrap it up here, the entire internship process and experience was unique to anything that I've ever done in my academic life before, but it was really rewarding, and I do encourage anyone that has a similar opportunity to go ahead and take advantage of that. And if you want to know more, feel free to comment down below. I can answer any questions. If I feel like it warrants another video to answer any question, I can make that happen as well. I have that power. But For now, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, afternoon, evening, what have you. Take advantage of those opportunities thrown at you. I mean, worst case scenario, you won't like it and you'll know you don't like it, but there won't be a question mark there anymore. So I will see you all in the next one, and I apologize for the noise my dogs are making. They are brats and spoiled and have no respect for the fine arts. Thank you again for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell if you would like to see more. And if you'd like to follow me on any of my other social medias, the links are down in the description below. Don't forget to check out thereptilegoth.com for all of my articles and blog posts. If you found any value in this video and you would like to help support the channel, please check out my Patreon page. That link is also in the description down below. And a special thanks goes out to my Diamond Dragon patron, Diane V. What you're doing is really helping me fund a dream here. I will see you guys all in the next one.